Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is a bladed jig. I'm not going to attach the blade, but this is the head I use, which is a 3/8 ounce Sparkie head. Um, it's got a 4/0 Gamakatsu 345 swim jig hook, and you can see the color is a black back with pearl. I call it tuxedo, and you'll see why when we get this. Um, One of the viewers of my channel, Alex, asked if I do any chatterbait ties, bladed jig type ties, and this is one of the few that I do with hair, and it's simply because I haven't seen a big benefit with hair, but this one seems to work really well, and the material isn't a whole lot. I don't use too much of it. So we're going to get started here with some Loctite super glue brush on, Gorilla Glue brush on, whatever you want. And the reason why I'm using this is anytime I start thread on the collar and go down over top of it onto the hook shank, the thread will kind of get loose on you. So if I'm going to have a lot here behind that, I will put some glue there. That way it holds pretty tight going over the collar. We'll cut our excess off. Here with our thread base, I'm going to take this down, not quite to the tip of the hook, just about there, and I'm going to run it back up. Now, first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take some grizzly saddle hackle, like this, 4.5 inches, whatever your favorite trailer for a bladed jig would be, the length. That's what you want to cut it, because that'll give you the same length as what your trailer would. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this up, and I'm going to start right there. Not quite on the top of the hook, just a little bit off to the side. And just put a couple wraps just to hold it in place there for a second or two. I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. And I want to hold these up until I get the thread run down. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. But now on the back side, or the bottom, you'll see there's that side and a back side. You want the color, the one that's the heavier color, I guess you see how it's cupped. You still want that facing the top of your jig. Do the same thing. Now once I'm happy with where the feathers are, I'm going to secure them down right to where I had the thread. Looks pretty decent. Now, next phase in this is going to be pearl flashabou. This is trying to catch the light here. This is the pearl. It's iridescent. It's a little heavier than crystal flash. I like it for these bigger patterns. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all right about the length of the feathers here. Tie it in, fold it over, and now you got a rock solid tie. Trim off the little bit of excess that you have. Put it in our scrap bin. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the flashabou. It's going to add a little bit of action, but it's going to give us that little bit of flash without being overboard. That's about the easiest way to say it. And we got that all tied in. Now, Extra Select Marabou. Comes in a pack like this. These are really large plumes. And when you pull these out, what you notice is down here, it's real heavy to stem. We're probably going to go right to where it starts getting thick, and that'll be plenty because we're going to use 2 plumes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tip here. I'm going to brush all the extra barbs aside and just get that tip. I'm going to wet my fingers and twist it. So I got this little spike, and I'm going to tie that in and then cut the little excess off there. And now we're ready to start wrapping it. And I like wrapping this pattern just because it works really well with this for the size of these plumes and the size of this bait. It works. So I'm going to pull all the barbs to one side like that. Should finish that up there. Get that out of the way. And brush it back. Oh, I apologize for that. These plumes are bigger than what I'm used to. And you'll know when you get to that, start getting to that heavier stem. Now we're going to go up over this ball a little bit. And you can start feeling that stem. It's going to start getting hard to wrap. That's where we want to quit. And I'm going to secure this. And we'll cut our stem off. Now, if you use these plumes and you don't use all the material on it, don't throw it out because you can tear. The fibers on this are long enough that you can tear it away and save it for, you know, a regular, like a smallmouth marabou jig or something of that sort. I'm going to wrap this down and move the thread up because our collar is going to be up here a little bit. Because I'm forcing this material down this way. And it's a little matted now. It wet my fingers. I want it to be that way because we're going to add some more marabou to this. Now, I'm going to take another piece of this Extra Select marabou. The same thing. I'm going to twist up the tip there. Tie it in. And we'll trim off the little excess. And we'll start wrapping. Being mindful to brush the barbs back. Now you're not going to get this whole feather up there, but you're going to get a good bit of it. It's going to really, really give a nice look to this. I keep hitting that. I apologize. That's about it. You're going to trap some of the fibers down when you wrap this up. It ain't going to hurt nothing. We're going to push them all back. Hold our hair back. And I want to wrap this because there's, again, this has those heavy stems in it. So you want to make sure you don't got any stem sticking out of your collar. Not that it'll hurt, not that the fish will mind, but if you're like me, that'll bother you. Like I said, I don't got a lot of patterns for this type of thing. When it comes to hair, like spinner baits, the same way I do the same thing for a spinner bait. But I've used bucktail and rabbit in the past, and I don't see. I guess maybe it's the time of year that I'm using those baits. I don't see a huge benefit, but this one does work. This is one that I do keep in my arsenal a good bit. So once I got that collar buttoned down really well, and wet my fingers so that material doesn't come up on me, and I'm going to whip finish it. Cinch it. I don't even need the second one, but I do it anyway. Cinch. Trim. And we're going to take some Sally Hansen's hard as nails. Hold the hair back. And I'll show you what we have, because it is completed. Gotta get the hair unraveled a little bit. That is your Marabou feathered bladed jig, swim jig. Could use this for a lot of different presentations. Could put it on a regular swim jig, or again, like this is going to be a bladed jig, so you're going to get a lot of action out of the feathers. And believe it or not, you would think this is going to be a very delicate piece. It's not. I've caught 20, 25 fish and didn't lose a feather out of this, believe it or not. Good ones too, especially smallmouth. They could tear a bait up real quick. So there you go, your Marabou bladed jig. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.